Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
The wife decided to walk to a concert with her boss, but when the camera turned on them during the live broadcast, everyone saw this. Tonight's story with a similar plot. Enjoy the show! It was a beautiful winter day in Austin, Texas. The air temperature was 20 degrees Fahrenheit, with a light westerly breeze blowing. The evening looked even more spectacular with a full moon and a temperature around 10 degrees Fahrenheit at 8 p.m. All this made for an ideal forecast. To top it all off, Florida Georgia Line was in concert at the Moody Center, and Henry Ken had 2 front-row tickets for himself and his wife Melanie. The 33-year-old couple, married for almost 5 years, were planning to celebrate Valentine's Day a week early. The only problem was that it wasn't very warm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. In fact, it was about 12 degrees Fahrenheit cold there, with 30 centimeters of snow on the ground and another 20 cm forecasted to fall before it cleared. What does this have to do with Henry, Melanie, and dating Tyler Hubbard, Brian Kelly, and the rest of the crew? Good question. Henry had been called at the last minute to fly to Sioux Falls the day before to fix a major computer glitch at the Sanford Biomedical Center. When the problem arose, their neonatal unit was participating in a national research project. Henry was the lead specialist for his company and rarely went on business trips, but Sanford was their 3rd largest customer, so Henry took the first available flight out on Thursday. It took him about 6 hours to get everything sorted out. He was booked on a 6 a.m. flight back to Austin that would get him home 10 hours before the show. The only problem was that by 3 o'clock in the morning, there was already a foot of snow on the ground, and it was still falling. The airline app on his mobile flashed notifications about delays and then finally flight cancellations. Henry stayed awake and looked for options. Henry was well compensated for his work and was worth every penny, but his boss wouldn't be happy if he booked a flight home. However, he had just saved his company several $1,000s more than a charter would have cost, so he tried his options. By 5 o'clock in the morning, it became clear that no one would be flying anytime soon. The snowfall continued all day, and the temperature dropped to about 15 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. Some called it the storm of the decade. All Henry could think was, damn. Around 9 a.m., he dialed Melanie's office on speed dial. Her assistant, Kim, answered after the second ring and connected them. Hi baby, I'm so excited about tonight. What time are you getting home, Mel? Have you seen what the weather is like in Sioux Falls, Henry? I knew you were heading there, but I didn't pay attention. What's going on? Unfortunately, there's a lot of damn snow. So far, it's 30 centimeters, and maybe another 20 will fall before it lets up. All flights have been canceled. Oh baby, I'm so sorry. I was so looking forward to tonight. I know I've been working a lot lately, and this was the perfect chance to start a romantic weekend together. Damn, sometimes I hate your job. I'm upset too, Mel, but you know I only travel 4 or 5 times a year and only when absolutely necessary. This was a serious crisis with a major client, like you said. We haven't been together much these past few months, but you're the one putting in the crazy hours, not me. If anything, my job allows us to live a damn good Texas lifestyle. You're right, Henry. It's just that lately, we've been apart more than together. I know a lot of it depends on me. I'm working hard to become a partner, which means I have to dedicate time to it. You've already reached the point where you can determine most of your schedule and keep it within reason. I'm getting there, but it'll be another year or so before I start controlling my working hours. I miss you and us. Me too, baby. Why don't you grab your friend Sue and go have some fun? The tickets are in the front row, and trying to sell them is too much of a hassle. I can order a car to pick you up and take you home. Don't let my mess ruin the enjoyment of a great show. Melanie hesitated and suggested simply selling the tickets. She would have stayed home and watched the concert broadcast online. She could log into their Ticketmaster account and sell the tickets without any problem. She went on about how she wouldn't want to go if you weren't with her. Henry resisted, urging her to go and have fun. He reminded her that she had a new pair of Tecovas boots, and the stylish boots looked very nice on her. After several minutes of arguing, she relented. They both said, "I love you," and hung up. 5 minutes later, Melanie found her burner phone in the back compartment of her tote bag and pressed the speed dial button. "Hello, how's your day going?" "Well, maybe I have something that can cheer you up. Henry just called, and he's stuck in Sioux Falls, South Dakota." Yes, he had to urgently go there on business, and a strong snowstorm began. "Can you believe he was unlucky?" "Yes, good luck to you anyway. I still have 2 tickets for tonight, but hubby will be chilling in the Great White North." "Is Diana still visiting her parents in Memphis?" "Great! How about spending the evening together? I have a new denim skirt and boots that I've been wanting to try on for a long time. I'll call a taxi to your house, and we'll head out. How do you like this proposal?" "Yes, I will order a dark taxi to make sure we have tinted windows." Giggle. "Yes, let's have a party all night after the concert. See you around 7. "I can't wait." Melanie worked hard and waited until lunchtime so she could leave the firm by 4:30 p.m. She wanted to soak in the bath and relax for an hour before heading to the concert. Before leaving the office, she called her best friend Susan Sue O'Connor. They met during her first year at the firm and immediately hit it off. The age difference was only 1 year, and they got married only 2 weeks apart in the same year, so they had a lot in common. "Hello, Susie baby, do me a favor." "How are you, Mel?" "I'll be glad to help if I can. If Henry ever asks you how our evening was at the Florida Georgia Line concert tonight, your answer will be amazing." "What the hell, Mel? Are you still seeing David?" Mel giggled. "Yes, I just can't get over it. I know his fellow partners call him that because he can be a bit of a jerk, but let me tell you, there's another good reason for the nickname." Sue was not amused. "Mel, Henry is an amazing person, and you guys make an amazing couple together. This is the moment when you start thinking about children and starting a family together. You're not in college anymore, sister. Why are you still dating him? You're risking everything for a few fun nights." Mel sighed. Her friend was faithful but also more conservative in her views on marital fidelity. I know, Sue. Henry is a great guy, and I'm not going to lose him. David is easygoing and fun. We're both happy in our marriages, but there's just a spark between us that rocks our worlds. Mel, you really need to think twice before you open your mouth. If you were truly happily married, you wouldn't be messing around with your boss, and you wouldn't be dating any of his employees if you were truly happy. What part of your marriage vows did you not understand? Giving up everyone else is pretty trivial. Mel began to tire of her friend's lectures. Sue, will you cover for me or not if Henry ever asks? I will not provide any information and will never bring up this topic. But if he asks me directly, I will say that I was with you. Where are we sitting? In the first row, right in the middle? Thank you, Susie, you're the best. Next weekend, we'll spend a day at the spa. I'm treating you, so Henry bought some great tickets. Now you're using his gift to cheat on him with David? Sue thought, but what came out of her mouth was okay, bye. Mel rushed home and started getting ready for the date. She drank a couple of glasses of her favorite Pinot Grigio, shaved her legs, took a bubble bath, and then got dressed. She looked in the mirror and was pleased with what she saw. She thought she might turn a few heads this evening, but only one interested her. After ordering a taxi, she drank another glass of wine. When it arrived, she requested one stop on the way to the concert. The driver was happy to oblige. More money in his pocket suited him just fine. The car pulled up to a gated community. Melanie gave him a code to enter. They drove 2 blocks and stopped at the side of the road. On cue, David Miller, Melanie's boss, rushed out of his house and jumped into the back seat, greeting his companion. Oh my God, Mel, you smell and look wonderful. I think we should skip the concert and go straight to your house. Melanie replied calmly, slow down, big boy. We have plenty of time for that later. This will be a great show. The taxi driver remained silent but noticed the engagement ring and diamond on her left hand. Cheaters, he muttered under his breath. For her part, Mel never intended to cheat on her husband. She met David on a blind date arranged by her best friend. Mutual attraction quickly arose between them. She was outgoing, friendly, and easy to communicate with. Henry was a bit more reserved but had an inner strength that attracted her. He never overshadowed her, but she always felt safe in his presence. He was kind, firm, warm-hearted, and wise beyond his years. He attended college on a scholarship and served in the Marines for 5 years after graduation. This experience, combined with his personality, made him someone others could always count on. Henry was skeptical about Mel's hobbies from the start. He never considered himself a lucky match or anything special. In essence, he was taught that his duty was to take care of those around him. "You command on the front line and are the last to retreat," they drummed into him at headquarters. This rule made an impression on him, which remained with him even after his return to civilian life. Therefore, being pursued by a beautiful woman made him a little embarrassed. As they grew together, Henry's fears subsided, and Mel's confidence in them grew. They married after an 18-month courtship, which included a 4-month engagement. Henry's communication skills and natural ability landed him a great job at his current firm in Austin. By his 3rd year at the company, he headed his own department, and by the 5th year, he became vice president of IT development and customer support. Mel graduated from law school 9 months after they married and landed a solid entry-level position at a mid-size Austin firm specializing in oil and mineral rights. She was very smart and attracted the attention of 3 partners at the firm, Connor, Sims, and Miller. And that's when the trouble started. David Miller was a 43-year-old married man with 2 teenage children. His wife, Diana, was the principal of a local high school. Mel liked her and always thought they were well suited as a married couple. Much about her boss was a mystery to her. However, it was clear that David Miller was a tough nut to crack and worth working for. He worked at least 55 hours a week as a senior partner, while his 2 colleagues worked barely 40. He expected his team to work somewhere in the range of 70 hours a week. Mel had been working at the firm for 3 years and had finally settled into a 65-hour work week. Miller seemed pleased with her work and gave her better assignments. They began to spend more time together during and after hours, spending more time with the team and just the 2 of them. Soon, loneliness became much more important than communication with the team. They began to communicate more intimately. They were playing with fire, and both understood this. It took 6 months before the spark ignited into a real flame. They won a major court case that brought in a profit of about $2 million. David's share was to be approximately $1,400,000, and Mel was to receive a bonus of $45,000. A team of 6 gathered in David's office to celebrate in the late afternoon. He was in such a good mood that he even opened a bottle of his collector's bourbon for the occasion. An hour later, the party was coming to an end. David asked Mel to step away for a minute. This caused a few grins from the more observant visitors. That was 6 months ago, and now Mel and David were walking onto the concert stage hand in hand. They hid their betrayal well, but at the same time tried not to show it. They weren't overly affectionate, but even an outside observer could tell that this was a date between 2 people attracted to each other. Returning to Sioux Falls, a frustrated Henry decided to watch the concert live. "If I can't be with her, maybe I can see her when they show the crowd," he thought to himself. After warming up, Florida Georgia Line hit the stage with a bang, performing 4 fast and loud songs until the 5th song, which finally slowed down. The cameramen weren't focusing much on the audience, but as the camera began filming the couples in the hall, the love song cruise began playing. Henry almost ran to the restroom when the song started playing, but he remembered that it was Mel's favorite song and stayed. 30 seconds later, his world collapsed, and his marriage ended. The camera stopped on the couple in the front row, right where Henry bought the tickets. The man and woman were hugging, clearly not noticing that they were on the big screen. He unmistakably recognized Mel in her new boots that Henry had given her last Christmas, and although he didn't know him well, there was no doubt that this was David Miller. Henry sank to the floor, completely speechless. The pain of betrayal hit him like a punch to the gut. He was stunned, dizzy, and had difficulty breathing. The camera panned to the other 3 couples, but then returned to Mel and David. This time, Mel looked up and saw them on the screen. The look of panic on her face was impossible to hide. She buried her face in David's chest, pulling his head towards her so he wouldn't look up. For 15 minutes, Henry sat on the floor with tears streaming from his eyes. He either muttered something like, "Why, Mel," or simply exclaimed angrily, "You, Mel. And of course, I'm going to take revenge on you, David Miller." As he began to regain his composure, he knew he had to move and act quickly. The Corps taught him that if you sit still and do nothing, you will die. If you move and take the fight to the enemy, you have a chance. He started to move. Henry called his good friend and lawyer, Michael Lipone. Michael was a little surprised to receive the call at 9:30 p.m. on a Friday night, but even more surprised to hear the topic. He apologized to Henry and asked him a couple of times to confirm if Henry was sure. Making sure, he told Henry to hang up but answer the call that would come in within the next 5 minutes. 3 minutes later, the phone rang. He didn't recognize the number, but it was from the Austin area code, 512. "Hello, this is Henry K." "Hello, Mr. K, this is Erica Hamilton, a lawyer and a good friend of Michael." "Hello, Mrs. Hamilton, thank you for calling me." "Call me Erica, and I'll call you Henry," Erica replied. Henry was about to say something, but she continued, "Forgive me for being blunt, Henry, but time is pressing. Your wife is at a concert with another man, and you witnessed them getting intimate on live television, right?" "Yes, that's right." "Good. Where were they sitting, and what were they wearing, as far as you could tell?" Henry answered as quickly and succinctly as possible. "When we hang up, send me the latest and best photo you have of your wife. As we speak, I have a private investigator on his way to the concert. He'll be there in 10 minutes, and if necessary, he'll spend the entire evening and the rest of the weekend with them. We need to collect as much evidence as possible, as quickly as possible." "Okay, thank you, Henry. Can you think of an excuse to stay in Sioux Falls for a couple more days? I'd like our evidence to be irrefutable, and just one evening at a concert does not prove anything. If you can stay longer because of the snow or do a bit more work for your client, we'll have a better chance of catching them cheating. Please forgive my bluntness." "Yes, I can arrange it," Henry answered. "Okay, Henry, send me a photo as soon as possible and wait for my call. I'll call you back no later than tomorrow noon with the latest news. Call your wife in the morning at a time convenient for you and tell her that you'll be staying until at least Monday evening. I assume your employer won't mind?" "Yes, I'm a senior vice president, so I have a flexible schedule. On Monday, I could still work with a client." "Great. Sorry, but I have to run. We'll talk tomorrow." Henry was grateful for the conversation and quick action. He was still dizzy and had no idea what the end result would be, but it was clear that this woman was good. That night, he hardly slept and vowed to never listen to FGL again. By 5:30 a.m., Henry had stopped trying to sleep. He stood up and looked outside. The snowfall had become lighter but was still falling. He turned on the local radio station. A total of 55 centimeters of snow fell in the last 36 hours. This is quite a record for Sioux Falls. Obviously, not much will happen until the end of the day or even tomorrow. Henry started making notes. Cheating was common for her, whether it was the first time or the 100th time did not matter. He would not tolerate a breach of trust between close relatives. As if the betrayal wasn't bad enough, the contempt they both showed for him was beyond anything. They were in a very crowded place in his city. Even if only one or two acquaintances saw them, rumors would spread. "Did you hear that Melanie is cheating on her husband with her boss?" There was no way he would put up with this. He reviewed his actions as her husband over the past 5 years. He had always been faithful to her, but it wasn't like women were knocking down his door. He rarely looked at another woman. He was head over heels in love with Mel, which meant he was absolutely faithful to her. They fought from time to time, but he was a good husband to her, caring, friendly, protective, but always respecting her as an equal partner. No, he didn't deserve such disdain. He compiled a detailed list of assets and liabilities, then made a very short list of people he needed to call, including his boss, his father, and 2 core buddies. He made a list of next steps in anticipation of speaking with Erica. It was only 7 a.m., so he pulled on his sweatpants, headed to the hotel gym, and worked out hard until 9 o'clock. After taking a shower and having breakfast, he picked up the phone. There were 2 messages from Mel asking how he was doing and saying how much she missed him. She mentioned that the concert went well and that Sue joined her. Another show of disrespect. He decided to check something. Perhaps he should have waited for his lawyer to check it out, but he was a Marine, after all, and inaction in a crisis did not seem like a good option to him. The phone rang twice before it was answered. "Hey, Henry," Sue said. "I heard you were stuck in Sioux Falls. I saw the weather map, it looks terrible." "Hello, Sue." "Yes, it's white outside. Texas hasn't had this much snow in 100 years, much less in one day. I'll be glad to get back home. How can I help you, Sue?" Sue's voice sounded nervous. "Look, Sue, I'm just curious. How did you like yesterday's concert? I love the opening song, This Is How We Roll. I watched it live from my hotel room." "Yes, Henry, it was a great show. I know Mel had fun, but I really missed you." "Thanks for asking, Sue. Can I ask you one more quick question before I let you go?" "Sure. I know you're a big FGL fan, so I was wondering, how could you confuse This Is How We Roll with Up Down, the song they opened with last night? How is that possible, Sue?" There was silence on the other end of the line, and Henry continued, "Sue, I know you're Mel's friend, but I also considered you a friend, just like Jim, her husband. But now it looks like you've taken sides and are willing to give up our friendship so she can cheat with her boss. I'm not sure what I did to you and Jim to deserve such disrespect." Sue felt a huge lump rise in her throat, and tears welled up in her eyes. It dawned on her that she had done wrong by covering for Mel. No friend would ever ask someone they care about to help them be dishonest and hurt others. "I'm so sorry, Henry," she answered almost in a whisper. "How long has this been going on, Sue? How long has David Miller been with my wife?" Henry was ready for something like this, but when he heard it for the first time, he was taken aback. He had to work hard to maintain his composure. "Sue, does Jim know that you lie for Mel and help her break her vows so she can cheat on me?" Sue gasped. "Oh no, Henry, Jim doesn't know anything about this. He would be devastated and completely ashamed to learn of my role." "Okay, Sue. For now, I won't tell Jim about the role you played. Everything will come out soon, and I'm sure you will have questions that you will need to answer. Jim is a good person, so my advice to you is to confess everything when the time comes. In the meantime, if I hear that you've said a word about this conversation to Mel, I will call Jim myself and make damn sure he understands, in no uncertain terms, the role you played in helping Mel disrespect and destroy our marriage." Now, Sue was crying. "No, Henry, I won't tell Mel anything. I won't even answer texts or phone calls over the weekend. I'll find a way to avoid talking to her. I'm very, very sorry and ashamed." Henry hung up without saying goodbye. On the other end of the line, Sue began to realize the depth of her mistake. In the name of friendship, she knew she would have to talk to Jim as soon as possible. Probably the best time would be right now. Henry then called Mel. Her voice was sleepy, but she played the role of a loving wife perfectly. She pouted a little when she learned that he wouldn't be home until Monday evening at the earliest. She and Sue had fun, but it wasn't the same without him. She had little planned for the day, run some errands, tidy up the house, nothing special. She promised that she would cook something special when her hubby returned home. She ended the conversation with a polite "I love you." Henry replied, "Goodbye." She thought it was strange, but then David distracted her. At 11:58 a.m., Henry's phone rang. It was Erica. She gave him a very brief update and then said she would call him back around 7 p.m. with a detailed report. She called at exactly 7 p.m. In general, it all comes down to the following. 1. The surveillance was very thorough. The private investigator came to the concert and took several more pictures. At first, Mel was intimidated by the cameras, but by the end of the concert, they were no longer shy. 2. They returned to Henry in Mel's house. The private investigator anticipated this and placed recording equipment in several rooms. They spent the night together. 3. Later in the kitchen, they had a casual but frank conversation about their relationship from the beginning. They openly mentioned meetings within the law office. They also discussed how to keep it a secret. 4. They went out to dinner and then returned to Kay's bedroom for the afternoon and evening, more intimacy. 5. The private investigator will continue to monitor and record, but Erica assumed it would be more or less the same. Then she wanted to know what was on Henry's mind. He spent the whole day thinking and taking notes. He shared his thoughts with his lawyer. She publicly and privately disrespected me for 6 months. Our marriage is irreparably broken, he began. She must face the humiliation she brought upon me in front of our friends and family. The truth about her actions must come out. There's no need to exaggerate, the facts speak for themselves. But no nonsense about irreconcilable differences. I want her served at work as soon as possible. I want David's wife to know when I serve Mel, so maybe she can coordinate and serve her husband at the same time. The same goes for David. I want his wife to have everything we have for him. I hope and pray that she gets the better of him in the divorce. I also hope that his partners have more morals than him and will force him out of the practice. Perhaps if we threaten to sue the firm for condoning repeated infidelity in the office, we could push them in that direction. I don't want to stay in this house. I need to sell it. There are too many memories. Honestly, I don't even know if I'll stay in Texas. However, I don't want her to live there either. I hope we can split the assets 50-50 when we sell. I also want to protect all my assets. I don't mind covering car payments or other small debts, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to pay alimony. She just received a large bonus, and the amount was already in the 6 figures. Erica asked several clarifying questions. She told Henry that given his ability to earn a good living, she would likely receive some kind of alimony. However, if the law firm had a morals clause, they could clearly prove that her infidelity ruined the marriage. This might help Henry, who will remain in Sioux Falls or return to Austin, hiding until Tuesday afternoon when papers will be served mid-afternoon. Erica will try to track down Mrs. R. Miller before then and see if she wants to join in the legal action. Henry noticed that Mel didn't call him again on Saturday or early Sunday evening. She and that idiot must have had a wonderful time. He knew he had to call her, otherwise, she might become suspicious. He called around 9. "Hello, it's me. I was just thinking about you and realized that we haven't spoken since yesterday. I hope you're still going home tomorrow. I can't wait to see you. I missed you so much. Sorry, Mel, but it will be on Tuesday. I have business at O'Hare Airport, so I'll be home around 3 o'clock this afternoon." "Okay," she answered disappointedly, "but next time I meet James, I'll tell him no more winter trips. He ruined an absolutely wonderful weekend that we should have enjoyed together." "You can tell him whenever you want when you see him again," Henry said, almost laughing at the thought. He thought to himself, "How damn heartless and evil you have become, Mel." They talked for another minute or two, and before hanging up, Mel said, "Henry, I love you so much, you know that, right? You know how much I love you?" "Yes, Mel," Henry replied, holding back tears. "I know exactly how much you love me." With these words, he hung up. He simply couldn't afford to humiliate her, even if she knew what was happening to her. "She'll never humiliate me again," he thought, dialing his boss, James, to keep him in the loop. On Tuesday, at exactly 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Henry was sitting at the kitchen table. He wasn't sure when Mel would return home. He learned from Erica that everything was going as planned. She should have been served between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Obviously, Mrs. S. Miller had already forgiven this idiot for his 2 previous affairs with women like Mel. She was in no mood to forgive the third and happily hired Erica to represent her. Both Henry K. and Diana Miller were named as plaintiffs in the civil suit against Connor, Sims, and Miller. Erica reminded both of them that she didn't think it would come to anything, but there were rumors that while Connor and Sims weren't necessarily choir boys, they weren't the type to put up with a lack of morals that was hurting their business. At 3:15 p.m., Erica called Henry to let him know it was done. While they briefly discussed next steps, Henry's phone was blowing up with messages and calls from Mel. In order, the messages read, "What the hell? How dare you humiliate me at my workplace? Answer. You better be home when I get there. I will never forgive you for this." Henry saw combat only twice. His job in communications was to provide combat support. But every Marine is trained to be a marksman, and twice in Iraq, he was caught in firefights. Neither lasted long, and his captain, who never praised anyone, took the young lieutenant aside and told him that, for a newbie, he had done well. Henry's combat experience helped him remain calm and determined before the fight that was about to break out in his kitchen. "Henry! Henry! Where the hell have you been?" Mel shouted, emerging from the side door of the driveway. Henry sat silently at the table. Mel came around the corner with a folder in her hands and furiously threw it on the table. "You idiot! Did you file my divorce papers at work? How could you do this? How could you be so cruel? Do you understand how humiliating this was?" Then her tone softened a little. "Why, Henry? Why would you file for divorce? We love each other. We have a great marriage and a wonderful future. What are you thinking? Talk to me." Henry remained calm. He realized that this was the first time he had seen Mel since he had been made aware of the terrible discovery last Friday night. Her eyes appeared sunken and puffy. She was nervous. He noticed that she had opened the divorce petition but did not appear to be looking at the documents. "Sit down, Mel, and we'll discuss this." "Don't tell me to sit down. Who do you think you are? You're cheating on me. I swear I'll get revenge on you." She loomed over him. Well, that's enough, Henry thought to himself. He stood up and towered over her, looking down with a calm but stern expression. He spoke again in a voice that demanded attention. "Sit down, Mel. Now." She sat down. "Mel, did you even look at the file attached to the divorce petition?" She shook her head from side to side but did not reach for the file. "Well, let's see what caused my world to collapse around me last Friday night. First of all, here's a photo of you and David at a concert. No, it's not Sue, because you lied to me. It's your boss. This is the first evidence of your betrayal." Mel moved away from the table as if the painting were a rattlesnake ready to strike. "David, this is not SHH. Hush, Mel. It's my turn to talk. You still have a chance. The next item is a flash drive. I'm not going to put it in and play it. You can review this on your laptop later, but this is a record of your whereabouts last Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, and Sunday morning. It also includes conversations that took place right here at this table in our house between you and this idiot, discussing your previous dates and how to keep Mrs. Diana Miller and me in the dark about the future. By the way, I know your office isn't exactly next to his office, so perhaps you didn't notice that Mrs. Miller also filed divorce papers for him today. I don't know how he's going to explain to his teenage kids that he got caught a third time, but that's not my problem. You knew you were number 3, right?" Melanie winced at this revelation. Apparently, she thought she was special, the only one he'd ever been with outside of marriage. Apparently, this idiot was also a great liar, but on the other hand, he was a lawyer. What did she expect? Okay, anyway, there are still pages detailing your infidelities as far as Sue could remember. Apparently, she realized that covering for you could cost her marriage to Jim, so she turned over all the evidence from a legal standpoint. Another way to put it is that she put you on display and told everything, all the nights you lied and said you were with her. Even the girls' weekend last November was a cover for your cheating. By the way, I wouldn't call Sue anytime soon. Jim made it clear that the marriage was over if she spoke to you without him. Finally, do you have a copy of the civil suit that Diana Miller and I are filing against your law firm? Your meetings at home do not violate any company rules. However, meetings in the lawyer's office are where we can take the case. Our lawyer believes we have a chance of success in this case. So, my dear cheating wife, this is why I'm divorcing you. You broke my heart in ways I don't think I'll ever be able to put into words. I was so upset last week when I had to fly to Sioux Falls because I was excited to spend time with the only woman I've ever loved, the only woman I ever wanted to love, my wife, the person I hoped would be the mother of our children. Then, I sat and watched the concert live, hoping to catch a glimpse of my girl singing and dancing with her trusted friend Sue. I almost died when I saw her with someone else. My soul was destroyed in an instant. I think I'm a man old enough to accept that I've been treated unfairly, even disgustingly. Mel, people are not perfect. I'm not perfect either. Forgiveness should always be a part of a marriage. But you didn't harm me, you despised me. You deliberately humiliated me in front of everyone. I cannot forgive this and will not tolerate it. I won't be married to you, Mel, 1 second longer than it takes to get a divorce. I won't make it easy for you. I'm going to save as much of my money as possible. Your family and friends will know what you did. I will not hide the truth from those who spat in my face with their actions. Now, you're on your own. I think this is what you may have wanted all along. That's it. I'm done. Speak calmly if you want. Mel tried not to cry, but she wasn't very successful. She was a strong and proud woman, but this man she claimed to love, whom she had betrayed so deeply, had just devastated her by simply telling the truth. He noticed the depth of her terrible actions and their consequences. She wanted to hate him, blame him for everything. She tried desperately to avoid facing the obvious wrong, but there was no escaping the truth of who she was. Did you tell my parents? No, I'll leave that up to you. I talked to my boss and a couple of buddies I worked with, apart from my lawyer and our company's attorney, Michael. I haven't spoken to anyone else. But let me be clear, if you try to hide the truth or whitewash your actions, I will hand everything over to them, including what's on the flash drive. I can't tell my parents everything. It will kill them if they hear all this. You can't hate me that much, Henry. Mel, you didn't care at all about my feelings or the fact that your choice broke my heart. You behaved disgustingly toward me for at least 6 months. And this just proves you had no other lovers before? Don't play the victim. I'll give you a week to tell them, and then I'll call. They'd better know exactly what happened, or they'll get a copy of everything. Henry, I swear there were no others. David was the first and only. Of course, Mel. And you and Sue were at the concert together last Friday, and you and that idiot weren't just hanging out at our house while you were telling me how much you loved me? I believe every time you open your mouth, you're lying. I doubt you even know how to tell the truth in a situation like this. Henry, I didn't want this to happen. I wasn't looking for this. I got caught up in the moment when we won the Dutton case. As soon as we started, I wanted to stop it, but I just didn't. I don't know why, really. Mel, don't you know why? Henry rummaged through the folder until he found the right page. I'm sorry. I should have realized from your conversations how much you wanted to be faithful to me. For example, this quote from 2 days ago that you discussed in our house, David, if Diana or Henry ever find out, we'll have to break up, and I don't want to stop seeing each other. Yes, Mel, you seem to be so conflicted about your behavior. You're completely lost. Henry's words began to sink in. Mel sat back in her chair, saying nothing for a minute or two. Finally, she spoke. I have no excuse, Henry. I'm a grown woman, and I made my choice. I thought I could hide this from you. I thought I could play this game, and if you didn't find out, it would be harmless. I knew David was married, and I knew that we would never love each other, even though we said those words. I never felt the same feelings for him as I do for you, but I heartlessly betrayed you in your love for me. Mel paused for a moment to blow her nose and dry her eyes. She looked across the table at Henry and immediately noticed 2 things. His wedding ring lay on the table, and from the expression in his eyes, she realized that he was lost to her forever. He treated her with the same contempt with which she treated him. Her little safe world of a loving husband collapsed. Henry, I don't know what to do or where to go. I can't leave home before the divorce. This would mean admitting it's all over and committing financial suicide. I guess you won't leave either. Can we agree to stay here for a while? I need time to think and decide on the next steps. I can't promise that I won't push for a divorce right now. All I want is to be with you forever. I can't imagine life without you. I will live in one of the spare rooms and avoid contact beyond what is necessary, just like between roommates. I will respect your personal space. Mel, I can't tell you what to do, what to think, or where to go. Erica, my lawyer, told me not to leave the house until the divorce is finalized, and said you would feel the same way. Today, you'll stay in the master bedroom. Tomorrow, I'll donate the mattress to the Salvation Army, and they will bring us a new one. This will be my bed that you will never sleep on. Thank you for your understanding, Henry. I would fight to stay if I had to. This is my only legal choice, but I appreciate you accommodating me. I'll start moving my things tomorrow while you're at work. Mel stood up and walked over to hug Henry. He quickly moved away from her. "You, Mel, don't ever try to touch me again. That's all I can do, being in the same room with you and remaining calm. You broke my heart and destroyed us. I cannot console you now or ever again for committing such a heinous act. You made your choice alone, and you'll live it alone. I will never be able to completely forget the way you betrayed me, Mel, but I will work as hard as I can to cut you out of my life as much as possible. And that journey has already begun." Mel collapsed back into her chair, dropped her head on the table, and began to sob. Mel fought her divorce tooth and nail. She hoped, deep down, that Henry would relent and stay. She, too, had to fight if she wanted to maintain even an ounce of self-respect. Many of her friends broke ties with her when they heard what she did to Henry. Mel asked the court to order counseling, showing that she had already undergone therapy and proving that she had nothing to do with David Miller. However, representing herself was never a good idea, but Mel was worried about attorney fees, so she decided to give it a try. She paused the process for a while but never derailed it. Even Mel's parents begged her to let Henry go. They were horrified by her actions and sided with Henry, although they tried to maintain a strained relationship with their daughter. It took 7 months to finalize the divorce. The house and savings were divided equally, but Henry did not have to pay child support. Miraculously, Melanie left Connor Sims and Miller to work for a small firm in San Antonio. On the day of her divorce, as she was leaving the house and turned around to say goodbye to Henry, he closed the door in her face before she could speak. Now, she rarely goes on dates but usually comes home with a random guy on Fridays. Perhaps human interaction soothes her soul, or perhaps this reminds her that she was a cheater who abandoned a good man in marriage. It turns out that Connor and Sims still have morals, even if they are lawyers. They kicked Miller out, and a few months later, he moved to Houston, where he took a position in a small law firm run by his cousin. Diana cleaned him out in her divorce, and his children don't talk to him. The lawsuit that Henry and Diana brought was settled out of court for $250,000 each for the plaintiffs. Erica was very pleased with the results. David Miller began spending his evenings at a seedy bar located in the wrong part of town. One evening, as he was leaving, a man approached him in the parking lot. He looked into Henry K's eyes. There were no CCTV cameras in the area. "Hey," Henry said. "I wanted you to look into my eyes and understand that this would happen. There are 12 retired Marines sitting in a bar in downtown Austin right now, most of them wearing decorated combat vests. They swear that I was with them all evening. If by some chance I get arrested and charged with assaulting you, 1 or 2 of them will come back and finish what I started. Do you understand charges were never filed?" About a year after the divorce, Henry was leaving a cafe in downtown Austin when he looked up and saw a beautiful woman about his age walk inside. He held the door for her as she entered. "Thank you, good sir," she said. "It's good to see that some cowboys still have good manners." "You're welcome, ma'am," Henry replied and headed to his car. He was about to leave when he thought to himself, "What the hell," and turned, heading back to the cafe. She was sitting facing the door and immediately looked up when he returned. He walked straight up to her table, extended his hand, and said, "Sorry, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Henry." She shook his hand in greeting. "Nice to meet you, Henry. I'm Lori. Why don't you pull up a chair? What do you think of our story today?" "In my opinion, my husband acted like a real man because he didn't cry to anyone or anything. He divorced her right away with no strings attached, and that's cool. What do you think about this story? Write in the comments. See you in the comments.